must have been a beautiful baby.
On December 30th, 1961, Roma gave birth to a second child, another boy, and they named him Gary Gaines. Gary was born a healthy child, a very healthy child, although he did seem to have a bit of a problem bending his knees. And now, Tommy finally had somebody to play with. Or more like somebody to push around and intimidate. But isn't that what big brothers are for? Tom and Roma certainly seemed to enjoy being parents, taking the boys on picnics, visiting with family, and generally just doing all those things families do together. In fact, they enjoyed being parents so much that in January of 1963, Roma became pregnant once again. On September 9th, 1963, Roma gave birth to a third child, another son. They named him Bruce Kirk. Tom and Roma now had one half child more than the national average of 2.5 children per family. After having 3 children so close together, somebody actually asked Roma if she knew where babies came from. Roma answered yes. After all, she had 3 children. If anybody knew where babies came from, it would be Roma. Needing a larger home to accommodate their growing family, in 1965, Tom and Roma plunked down $28,000 and bought their first home in the Montecito Park neighborhood of Glendale. The 1960s were filled with many family gatherings. Over the years, Tom's brothers and sisters, who had been separated more than 30 years earlier upon their mother's death, along with their families, all found their way to Southern California. And every year, the annual Gibson family reunion was held in Eagle Rock, where the old people played cards, all the kids got reacquainted with their cousins, and everybody enjoyed Aunt Grace's ice cream. On Pearl Harbor Day, December 7th, 1966, the Gibson family got together once again, but this time for a much more somber occasion. George Kirk, the man who was a father figure to Tom, and the man he called Dada, had passed away.
Hot town, summer in the city.
In the summer of 1967, Tom, Roma, their 3 boys, Nita, and Roma's mother Ruth packed into the family station wagon for a summer trip through the western United States. While Tom drove, Roma manned the movie camera, taking movies of the passing scenery, as well as many movies of the compass mounted on the front windshield. The family made stops at the Grand Canyon, Yellowstone National Park, and at the home of Nita's sister Helen in Evergreen, Colorado, where the boys were treated to their first ever small-town rodeo. In 1968, the whole family got dressed up, with Bruce in his very first suit, to celebrate as Tom received his master's degree from Pasadena College. Besides surprisingly bad fashion and music, the 1970s brought Tom and Roma a big surprise in May of 1972, when 9 years after giving birth to her third child, Roma learned that she was pregnant once again. And on January 3rd, 1973, Roma gave birth to a fourth child, and for the first time, a daughter. They named her April Noel. Although she was born in January, Roma named her April because she had wanted to use that name if her first child, who was born in April, turned out to be a girl. She was given the middle name of Noel because she was supposed to be born on Christmas Eve. but April decided to hold out just a few days longer. Along with the surprises, the 1970s also handed Tom and Roma a couple of losses. On October 14, 1974, Roma's mother, Ruth Burdett, passed away. Eight months later, on June 2, 1975, Nita Kirk, Tom's aunt who took him in, raised him, and adopted him as her own son, also passed away.
Someone knocking at the door, somebody ringing the bell.
With the boys getting older and the addition of their daughter April, it was once again time for a larger home. In 1976, Tom, Roma, and family moved into their current home just a few miles away in the foothills of Loch Rosenta. The late 70s and early 80s saw the high school graduations of Tom Jr. in 1978, Gary in 1980, and Bruce in 1981. In between the celebrations, though, came another loss for the Gibson family. Although he signed over guardianship of Tom to his sister Nita in 1936, Tom's father Jim played a large part in his life and in the lives of Tom's children. On September 4th, 1979, the man Tom's boys knew as Grandpa Jim the Tickle Man passed away.